Good afternoon, and thank you for taking a few minutes to spend this afternoon where I can share with you some of the things that I've learned over my 9 years at Indeed about attracting, retaining, and motivating talent. Now, if there's one thing that you all need to know about Indeed, is our mission, which is we help people get jobs. And I want to be clear that this isn't just some words that are written across a wall someplace. We actually use this mission every day in making decisions about how we are going to build our business and deliver our products. And we've had some success with this mission. We're now the #1 site in the world for job seekers. We have more than 200 million unique visitors coming to our 60 country-specific sites across the world and performing more than 2 billion searches every month. But those actually aren't the numbers that get us excited. What gets us excited is once a year, there's a third-party report where they do an analysis of what's actually happening in the job world. What's happening, how are people finding their jobs? And it turns out that for the 6th year in a row, the majority of people find their jobs for external online hires through Indeed. That's right, more than all other sources combined. And we've been able to develop this mission over years by increasing our product's ability to get to what actually happens when someone gets a job. So when we first started, our product was basically just clicks. Job seekers came to the site, they saw some jobs on a search page, they clicked, and then off they went, and some things happened. Hopefully they got jobs. Since then, we're constantly improving and innovating our product to get closer to the source of hire, where we actually are able to understand what is it that caused that job seeker to actually get the job. And so we're constantly innovating the product to be able to get that data and produce those results. But that takes a lot of tech talent. And most of you are familiar with the phrase what Mark Andreessen has said, software is eating the world. And I think there's the obvious aspect that we're all familiar with, which is that every major industry is being disrupted by software. The largest advertising network in the world now is a software company, Google. But it goes well beyond that. Every company is becoming a software company. If you think about what is Walmart, what makes Walmart unique? It's really their pricing and logistics algorithms powered by software. And so in some ways, you could say that Walmart is really a software company masquerading as a brick and mortar retail company. But the thing that really drove this home to me was when I discovered that the company that has the most software job postings right now is not a consumer internet giant. It's actually a car company, General Motors. And this is great news if you're a software developer, right? It's easy for you to find a job because everyone is looking for you. But it's not so great if you're someone in this room who's looking to hire and retain those software developers. And right now on our website, 7 of the 10 hardest to fill positions are all software jobs. And you might think that, well, this is just a moment in time, that things are going to get better, supply and demand is going to work this all out. Well, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics says that over the next 10 years, we expect 1.3 million new software jobs to be created in the United States. And unfortunately, the National Science Foundation believes that there's only going to be 400,000 new computer science grads. So we're actually in the good times. This is the easy time for us to find software developers. And this doesn't only negatively impact employers. It also has a pretty negative impact for software engineers. They're so inundated by recruiter outreach. Qualified candidates receive more than one contact a day. And they develop recruiter blindness because they're just, I don't want to hear this anymore. So getting the message to these candidates becomes very difficult. Now, it's not surprising, given that we're a software company and we're focused on helping people get jobs, that as we experience this problem of getting great software talent, we said, oh, we should probably build a product for that. And that's Indeed Prime. And the idea is pretty simple. We're helping employers find top tech talent. But going back to that mission, just as important is helping that same tech talent get multiple offers very quickly so they can get in and out of the job-seeking market as quickly as possible. And the way that this works is employers who sign up for Indeed Prime each week receive about 100 qualified and engaged candidates that they can potentially contact. And I want to highlight, what do I mean by highly qualified and engaged? And so, looking at a sample profile, this is an actual profile from Indeed Prime. We've changed the name and the picture to protect anonymity. I think anyone in this room who hires top talent would say, that's someone I want to talk to. You look at their experience, they worked for Google, you looked at their education, they got a master's degree in Stanford. It's very clear, this is someone that I potentially want to bring on and talk to as a potential candidate for my position. And yes, our candidate pool is filled with people from these top-tier software companies. And again, that the candidate pool has many, many candidates who went to these top 20 computer science schools. But this is just a marker. The fact that you went to one of these top employers, got a degree from one of these top schools is a marker that you potentially could be a good fit. But of course, what we really care about is, can you write good software for us? And there's a lot more to it than just your pedigree. And one good news item about being in software is that the ability to write code is actually relatively empirical. You can actually determine, can someone write code in a fairly objective way? And the way that we do this is that we have these coding challenges that we run around the country, online coding challenges that we bring to software engineers who are looking for jobs in a particular market. And then we score them. And the top scorers, we give the opportunity to join our candidate pool. And so that means that we're uncovering these hidden gems, people who you might not otherwise look at. And so here's an example of one of those profiles. Again, name and picture changed. So if you look just at this profile, looking at the same content, experience, and education, I bet a lot of people in this room would overlook it. Sure, this person's probably pretty smart, they've got a PhD, but it's in cognitive psychology, and that doesn't normally scream, this is a great coder. And similarly, at least I, and probably most people in this room, aren't too familiar with the Center for Open Science, so you might not think this is somebody I'm going to be looking at to write my next great product. But then you can see we've highlighted that this person scored in the top 5% nationwide for our coding challenge. So this is someone who can code, and you'd be crazy not to bring them into your interview process. And so what we're doing is we're uncovering these people who you'd otherwise never even know about because you just move on to the next resume stack. And that also means that we're giving something to this job seeker who wouldn't get the same level of scrutiny that the people with the pedigree might get. Now I want to move to the other piece, right? I talked about the highly qualified. The other part is the highly engaged. Now I don't know about you, but when I reach out to potential engineers, my contact rate is not anywhere close to 90%. And the better news is the positive response rate is around 60%. In other words, the percentage of people who actually say, yes, I'd like to talk to you further about your job opportunity is 60%. That's about at 10 times what I think most of us probably experience. So this is pretty exciting and fantastic news. And we're allowing many employers across a group of markets in the United States to fill in-demand positions ranging from VP of engineering to data scientist, quality assurance analyst, to full-stack software developers using Indeed Prime. And Indeed Prime is just one of a few products that we launched last year. But we actually are testing out and moving forward hundreds of ideas across our different dev centers. And Indeed Prime was developed in much the same way as all of our ideas, which is a very data-driven development methodology. And I want to be clear about what I mean by data-driven. That word's thrown out a lot. So let me use a feature on our site as an example. When a job seeker performs a search on our website, we give them the opportunity to tell us, I'd like to know when you have more jobs that match this search. And we have an affordance that has the text save alert on it. We'd had this text for many years, and we thought, I wonder if we could improve. Could we get a better engagement with our job seekers by using different text? One way you might approach that is a product manager just decides, I think this is the best text, so that's what we're going with. Or you might have a user focus group and bring those words together. What we did instead is we picked a spectrum of ideas, and then we let our users tell us by actually engaging with them. And I don't know about you guys, but if I look at this, I have a thesis about which one of these is going to perform best and which one's going to perform worst. I thought activate was going to be terrible. I mean, what does that even mean, activate? Well, when we actually put this in front of our users, that was by far the best performing. So our users told us, for whatever reason, they engaged with that word. And we use different words in different languages in different countries. And the important thing about this is that this is how we run everything at Indeed. So last time I checked, we had 516 different A/B experiments running. And every week, we're releasing hundreds and hundreds of new experiments. Everything is wrapped by an experiment. And 70% of them fail. And that's actually good news, because 30% succeeded. And so, yes, most of our ideas are bad, but we have to run through them to get to the new ones, the right ones, because we don't know what's best, our users do. And this is something that we need to drive home with every new product manager, every new engineer, and even product managers who've been with us for a long time. Certainty is the enemy of innovation. You don't know, whether you've been with Indeed for 10 years or you're a brand new college grad, which ideas are actually going to be successful. So when someone brings up an idea, be willing to say, I don't know, let's test it. And this is so important to us that we actually have created a university, an internal university that is really largely around this idea. So each summer, we bring all of our new college grads from around the world to Austin and run them through a 3-month program, where the primary purpose of that program is not technical training. It's building a startup, where they're actually getting to produce ideas, decide which of those ideas they think could be successful, decide how they're going to measure whether or not they're successful, launch them, and then discover whether or not they are successful. And when we first did this in 2015, there were 11 different projects that we launched during the Indeed University. And I predicted they were all going to be failure. I thought they were terrible ideas, every single one of them. And guess what? I was completely wrong. Of the 11, 5 of them had demonstrated enough success that at the end of the Indeed University program, we moved them into our main product development stream so that we could further engage with them. And one in particular, the one that's highlighted on here, is one that we'd actually talked about for multiple years and kind of did some market studies, et cetera, and decided, this is pointless, this is never going to work. And the idea being that there are many jobs that aren't online. They're just simply a sticker, help wanted sticker on a storefront. And those aren't available to our job seekers. And so the idea was, could we find a way to get them online? And so these brand new college grads had the idea of building a little iPhone and Android app where people are encouraged to take a picture, geocode it, and get it uploaded to our site. We didn't think that would work. They managed to actually demonstrate that they could get people to put those jobs onto Indeed. And then we took some time afterwards to actually figure out how do we now take those jobs that they've uploaded them, do some OCR, categorization, et cetera, so we could get them onto our website. And you can see an interesting thing had happened when we actually got those jobs onto the site in April of 2016. All the jobs, when they were initially loaded, had the words help wanted in the actual job description task. And if you look before we launched, that term was virtually never searched for in the United States. After it launched, it became a very significantly searched term. So clearly, our job seekers saw these jobs, wanted to find more of them, and started entering the terms help wanted. And this is all based upon an idea that I and all the rest of the executives thought would never work. And so this is really important, that we need to allow lots and lots of ideas to be tested and executed against very rapidly. And you have to do it in a way, though, where people have access to data like this and can ask all sorts of interesting questions, or else you'll never know whether or not you're actually achieving success or not. And so when these new college grads graduate from Indeed University, they go around the world. We have engineering centers around the world, and it's really important for us to be able to maintain that momentum, that ability to continue to test new ideas and innovate on them. And we bring our ideas about what drives and motivates engineers to that table, to that forum of how do we keep that innovation going. So the things that we focus on are that engineers are driven by ownership. They want to own their creation. They create code. They want to make sure that this is mine, my ideas matter. They're, of course, also driven by constantly being challenged. They want to tackle new problems. They want to constantly be developing new skills. And the most importantly, I think, is attaching meaning. If all I'm doing all day is writing some text down that changes some magnetic resonance on a disk someplace, what does that really matter? So you have to find that impact, the way that the code that they're writing changes the world, and constantly be reinforcing that, which is actually a big part of what we did inside of Indeed University. And so what we're looking for is now, given that focus on these 4 things, how can we actually make use of this distributed nature of all of our offices? I think it will come as no surprise to you that engineers who are in our Tokyo office, and primarily coming from Japan and China, bring a slightly different perspective to the ideas that they want to move forward with in the job search product. It may surprise you that the same holds true for our Seattle, our San Francisco, and our Austin offices. Our Austin office is largely populated by people who have a long tenure with Indeed, and so many of their ideas are driven by what they've seen happen in Indeed before. Whereas Seattle, most of our employees have come from companies that they've had longer tenure, much larger. And what that means is that the set of ideas that are going to just be eliminated out of Austin, out of hand, by almost everyone, because there's a uniform groupthink to Austin that is different than the groupthink in Seattle, we're going to have different ideas percolate. And so by having different regional groups all focusing on the same product, we surface more ideas that actually get experimented on. And given what I said before, which is that what's most important is driving as many ideas into production testing as rapidly as possible, we need to make sure that we don't eliminate too many ideas too early. And so this is what we call our sibling development center. The idea, we're not a hub and spoke model where all the ideas come from Austin and then different satellite offices execute against that plan. We're also not one product, one office, where a single product lives only in one office, and so all of the ideas come from that office. Instead, we decompose the product such that you can work on it in different offices, have ownership in that office, and those different cultural environments all generate new ideas for that particular office. So a couple of key takeaways that I'd love for you to walk away with. One, look outside the box for top talent. Don't just pay attention to pedigree. Put in place processes, use products that allow you to find talent that doesn't just have the top tier software companies, the top tier computer science programs on it. And two, once you've got that talent in place, pay attention to what matters to them, what motivates to those engineers, and figure out how to leverage their passion, whether it's through our sibling office concept or something else like that, to bring their ideas to bear. If you're interested in more about how engineering works at Indeed, you can visit engineering.indeed.com. If you're interested in our Prime program, indeed.com/prime. And then last thing, Indeed, we help people get jobs. Thank you.